Quest of Akebulan, I am the voice of your ancestors. I am the voice of gods and the gods. I welcome you to another great episode. We've been in the central region for some time now, and today we are in Asen Manso. We are still taking history. We are still making history. We are trying to put everything on cassette or on records for our generation to come and meet them. Me man kran kra bia kwa basa na e de kanya wabe program you so na wabe platform you so we are consciousness family. We are called the Pearls. Ye dig ye delve into our ancestral lineage na ye wo mu no na ya hwe ade akoso ne ne akoso se nim baby a wo free na we nim baby obedu a ebe ye den se obehu baby a wo kro sa adwuma no ene ye di ni wa ha ende ye wo one of our brothers with us in this very place. We are going to take history no ewa ha ne akoso edoso em say ya ye maboto kakra fiti nra ne the Cape Coast Castle ne ne eke ka ho na esa maye moa kakra, but I'm trying to encourage myself. So let's welcome our brother who is hosting us here. Ya ho tone ya ho bambo nyina wo ne nsam saa mre ya yegina he kosisi e befi Asen Manso ono na o host here. So let's welcome him na o introducing ne ho emfa nche na fei asem e course wa ha ne wa ha history wa ha nyina no ne emfa embre o baby a wo bia. Keep watching, the journey continues. Brother, I welcome you to our platform.
Thank you, madam.
Great. So today is your first time. Please greet the viewers and introduce yourself to us and tell us where we are.
Okay, so good day to you all. My name is Kofi Ameni. You can call me the Oracle. And I am the facility manager of Asen Manso Slave River site. Just like I always say, you don't need a lawyer to manage a church. You don't need an administrator to be in the theater room. Likewise, you always need a spiritualist to manage a sacred grounds like this. Because this area is a very important place and it's a very important piece to our history. And this place connects ourselves with our brothers and sisters in the diaspora. The name for this community is Asen Manso. Now, basically, our name tells the history. Whenever you want to learn about the transatlantic slave trade, you can never take out the people of Asen Manso. Because when you do take out the people of Asen Manso, you're not getting the history right. Asen basically means Asen, persons in transit.
Okay. The
Manso is not just for Kwaro, no, it is Omainoso, the capital. So Asen basically means people on transit, and according to history, the group of people that formed this community were captives who managed to escape. So this place is a maroon community, because when they were captured and brought to the slave market in here, majority of them were able to survive, and they went to hide in a cave which is 45-minute drive from here called Yabuano, and Yabuano means basically we've gathered, and they stayed in the cave for over 50 years.
50?
Yes. And when the trade was abolished in 1808, because they didn't have anywhere to go, then they have to form this community. So for us, everything that connects to the trade, we don't joke with it, because once upon a time, we had our brothers and sisters also going through that same pain. Now the market is a very big area which spreads all the way to the community, but development has catch up. But the reason why this area has been confined is that this area has been identified to have been the slave cemetery within the slave market. Okay. So everywhere we are working here, we are working on the remains of our forebearers. And that is why when you are coming through the main gate looks very short. So most of you came through the gate like this. So unconsciously, you already paid your respect to the grounds before you enter. In here, we cannot just walk with our shoes off on the land of our ancestors, because the land of our ancestors are here to bless us and to empower us for the next generation. So we treat this land so sacred that we don't joke when we walk on the lands of Asen Manso. But let's get onto the trade, and let me tell you something small about Asen Manso so that we could add up to the discourse of the transatlantic slave trade. So basically, according to one Ghanaian historian in a person of Professor Akosua Adoma Pebi, in a book entitled The History of the Indigenous Slavery in Ghana from the 16th century to the 19th century, this woman gave a revelation concerning the number of slave markets that existed during the trade. She made mention that Ghana had 63 slave markets. But of all the 63 markets, it was only 2 markets that has been documented extensively to have given all what you need to know about the trade. And this, we have the largest market, which is at the northern part of the country, called the Salaga slave market. The second largest market is where we are now, Asen Manso. Asen Manso was not the largest, but it was the busiest. Why was it the busiest? Because it was closer to the 3 dungeons, Fort Amsterdam, Cape Coast, and Elmina. Captives, mostly prisoners of war, that were captured from the upper borders of the country, like some part of Burkina Faso, Ivory Coast, Mali. Everywhere you were captured, in chains and in shackles. Our forebears walked for so many miles before they got to the Salaga slave market. When they got to the Salaga market, they were so tired. So they were camped in Salaga for some days. They were fed, not to just for them to have the strength to carry on. And from Salaga market, they have to walk to Asen Manso. And the journey from Salaga to Asen Manso was 400 miles. When you convert that to days, we are talking about 3 months journey. So 3-month journey in chains and in shackles, barefooted and half naked. If you are a female and you are part of this caravan, you have to go through 3 menstrual cycles. That was how tough their journey was. They never had a chance to eat along the way. The only time they could have something to eat is to pray that they could find some rotten fruit on the ground and pick it with their toe. Or nature or God should rain on them just for them to have something to. The journey was so difficult. It got to a point that they were promised that some of our people will be freed. And this was something that was told to me by my granny. She said when, she was also said by a granny because it was a generational story. So she said when they were coming from the north, the women were leading the caravan. And the women were always fighting just for them to have someone to rescue them. But whenever the women does that, they have people who come to rescue. But at the end, the people become part of the caravan.
The goons.
Yes, and they were taken away. So the raiders knew it was a threat on them. So they decided to keep all of them mute. But the question is, how can you keep me mute? That is when they promised them that for you, we're going to leave you chained or tied around the big trees, and we're going to leave you for somebody to come for you. So those that were seen as freedom fighters were whipped at the back, and you could see they have blood all oozing on them. And the ladies that have their menstrual flow, they were all taken out of the caravan and promised freedom, and they were chained around the trees. For our ancestors, some thought that maybe someone, somewhere would come and rescue us.
They were holding on to the promise.
To the promise that someone would come and rescue us. But they didn't know it was a plan. They were instead used as bait in order to navigate their way through the forest. The reason being that when they chain you around a tree, the blood is already oozing out. It attracts the wild animals to you. So the wild animals will concentrate on those that are on the tree, and those that are walking will have the chance to pass through that. So our ancestors endured so many difficulties until they got to the Pra River. After walking for 38 miles with no food and water, God smiled on them, and they got to the Pra River. When they got to the Pra River, in my thinking, I always thought that the only thing our ancestors would be thinking on is at least
drink and maybe wash down.
Because water is life. And water being splashed on you could even regain your energy back. I'm sure that was what they were thinking. But that was not happening to them at the riverside. Yes. At that riverside was where their first sorting out took place. Because they knew they weren't stronger enough. And they were getting closer to the market. So those that were not marketable, they have to be left in the river. Yes. And a cannonball as bigger a size of a football is connected to their shackles. And they were thrown in that river.
So you are not able to free yourself.
No, you can never.
If I can't sell you, you have to die.
You have to die. You have to die. If I can't sell you, you have to die. That is why I always say that most of the rivers that our ancestors passed through, we have to do so many things at the river.
Yes.
So when they got to that Pra River, majority of them died in that river.
They didn't die. Majority of them were killed in that river. Put it right.
Yes. Majority of them were killed in that river. Majority of their spirits were dampened in that river. And when they got to that river, those that lived to see another day saw whatever happened to their brothers and sisters in the river. I don't even know how they were able to psych themselves to make the next step. Because seeing your direct cousin or your direct sibling drowning in the river, and you cannot even hold hands and say, bro, let me support you. That was how tough their journey was. But with the spirit of those ancestors that died, they supported those that were living in order for them to forge ahead.
Because they have to see themselves in them. They can only see themselves through them.
That is it.
So if you don't help them...
So those spirits of our ancestors remain with the few ones that survived until they got here at Asen Manso.
And it was not done.
It was not done. When they got here at Asen Manso, this was where they were so tired. They were so lean because they've never eaten. They were so weak. They were calling for death to come for them. But even death was so scared of what was happening to them. Their ages were first identified in here by putting a device called a speculum oris. It is put into your mouth. Open your mouth. Count your teeth to forecast your ages. Broken bottles was used on them just to shave them for them to look attractive. After the shave, you will realize that all of them have bruises with blood all oozing out. Nobody cares about the blood that you spill. After which they were made to go to the slave river just for them to have their last bath. In here was where they went through their first auction and their first branding.
Human auction?
Yes.
Human branding?
Yes. And when we get to the river, we'll talk more about the auction. And the few ones that were able to leave this market, they were distributed along the 3 dungeons. But the majority ones that could not continue the journey, they were those that were killed and buried from the edge of the grass all the way to the river. So everywhere here are graves of our forebears.
You are watching The Quest. I thought I was done, but I'm not done. I pray I don't get aggressive after these things because I'm trying hard. Inti baby ye gina yi nyina no abusia enkrofo ye omoto omufie no mo nya eboni bia no abrofo yi kochechire omo no mo chechire omo wie no mo de omo nante ebosomo miensa nante oba so ubu nsa 3 times unjare nothing tie ni o e de omo nante so nwuram na baby e hye me koma na me be ka kire ono na ya ka kire wo say don't worry ye duru ho no ma yeduru kwan so ayede wo betare baabi ne ya ma obi abeyi nti wo de ye kom na ye begya wa ma wakọ ne ye de omo abobọ ndua ne ho ye de omo abobọ ndua ne ho eyi embo o betumi abetwe omo mu bi awe omo de bọ afọ omo de ye nnama ma omo na ete se wo hu prepare nti moja wo ho dada ate se nsu ashak wom na moja wo ho ne ye de wo kotum sacrificial lambs omo mantam nipa ne bi wo nnuam se be ya se bo ja tawo abo bi pe nipa ne bi awe obewe omo no bewe omo na nso waka tu nipa na dwunim se me de wo bo ha ama obi aba abenya no abeyiwu e de wakọ ye twe omo aba ya na omo bedu nsuo pra ho to bedu nsuo pra ho ne de na kire se anidaso bi aba ama omo enti omo se ende ye benye nsuo adware ne nya nsuo akokoro se de tie bia wonya nsuo gu so na anya bi no ma ahomie bi ebeba omu no watimi atowa so e ma awe mfi se ye ko Cape Coast Castle ne Elimina Castle no ba bia na omo kum nipa no omo de omo hye hwa ye ma omo nsuo nom ne ye ma omo aduane nni enti omo hu nsuo na ni daso foforo bi onyame ankasa twedi ampon asere akere omo na nso so na enye saa omo duru nsuo no ho no na omo hu so omo aye mmere na omo ton asebe ana omo afon wanante bosome miensa na omo hu atutu nkuro no eho e na omo fada de ana ball a emu odu ana mboba ye ko ye kote mboba de ye wo ho you can measure it with whatever ebe ma wuntumi enjane nko a check kakra bi obi wuye we dem di twam ama wo na okosi na okowuye na nebusuafo no hwehwe no ene ade na that was my first prophecy that took me to court na ade hwehwe no na omo hunu na omo ba me ho sa time no na me se me ye prophetess na omo ba me wona me ka kire nze me hu so omo nua no ye de na hye sa baro blue na ano black ni bi no ye de na hyem na ye yi atopum me na minim so ye si man se na omo wo si ni so no so omo de nam na eba omo du kro bi so ana omo aton na omo asan na so ontumi nye biom sa asem wo mko kan na omo de ne to drop barrel ni mu na omo kata so na omo yi ne to punu because omo de ne tum saa obeso emi ni way out ebi na nkrofo we ye wa ha me se nkrofo we wo hu bad energies omo abeja wa ha no e do so che asem no so atwa ye nkan fa nkai obi aya but they've left a lot of bad energies e wo kromu ha ebi ti say sodomy ebi ti say rape ebi ti say killing enu nti na me say that lord a sexy woman no ejina o ma church no you people should google and read more about it because ono no obema wo a wo ye leader na wo di souls na bre no na we feed on the soul na we making wo a wo di souls ne ba no rich. That's what's going on. Na say what did you see the ben ne sexy na mo komuna is the same thing that's happening in disguise. In Crawford we do pransuo no ho no mo hu say binum aye mre na omo ntumi for omo nko no e na omo de ade bobo omo asene e na omo jai omo gu nsuo mu na wo nua na wo faase na wo sister na wo aunt no ogina ho hwe wo ntumi nya hwe eno nti na me say apocalypto movie a ye hwe minim if we should read meanings into that movie na omo de wo omo akom wo gina ho na wo nua no eko na oka asem bi na oye spiritual person ti no tumi ka asem no o se omo wu no omo gina ho na ntimi amboa omo ba omo wu ye ne de omo honhom ebeboa omo te ase no na me ka se mo say yenko back we don't have a problem but I want you to know say our ancestors now omo kono omo they are in a particular world that omo but they see themselves through us, through our eyes. They hear themselves through our ears, like they see this world through us. And what the biggest problem, and I'm going to make a movie, I mean a video, meaning baby at the me see all the public toilets, moon checking, say, and then I know what answer no see wo. Moon checking all these things. I don't think I know more microphone cleaning or mo Mon checking all these things just to defile the gods. Ne wahano no mo bebo mo a survive no. In some of the doors, me pese me get emotional. Into omu kum nkrofo bi wo river pra ni mu. E na kakra na omu betimi aton no. Omu di beduru ba bia ye gina yi. Omu di beduru hanom no e na omu de bottles e shave ebi no mo. E na omu moto omu ni a omu pram moja. Omu wi a na omu de omu akonsuo ni mu. Ye be konsuo ni mu ti obehu. Na omu akohohoro omu ho. Na ne okaye na amama ye I don't want to me person me emotional na me break it out cause me break it out am kasa and baby a ye gina yi frigate na no e de besi he nyina no enkrofo na na omo anante boso me miensa ye week a omo hu omo nua mo ansuo ne de omo kọ na omo ye traumatized they couldn't survive it na omo wu ye no omo nyina na omo de omo gu ha sei nti imagine look at the size of this place na nipa na yedi omo egu ho may their souls rest in peace but at least they got a burial omo nya ensie ye kwan bi so than omo ana omo akomante ya yede shackles to omo ase de omo tunsuo no. This is our story. This is our story. We enye Bible stories now you can't actually calculate. This is real and this is here. Makato says also a spiritual person project summons them and ask them questions about what happened. They are around, they will talk to you. Enti baby ayaba bedru no enu nie eniama nkrofo wedi enya fam enu nie o say not slave trade na ye mienu baby ye big pie Salaga market ena aha no no na enye that big but na aha na ye the busiest because aha de say ayete say mpoano ayeyi nam no baby awo obi amasem we nko otrim na katere wo mba why yenyi ye ho nto abonte na mo abema ye views mo sponsor so energies na nkasa will sponsor but let the children know about this. We are putting this on record for you. Baby awo obi a wo fira brochire baby a wo fi bia wo ba mema hotel e wa krape enye wo de snake mu na bra ha no mo na be pay home to them and that what America who to me to die who to me tena ho comfortably. Someone died for you to have that privilege. Please, let's continue.
From Asen Manso, just like I said, they were taken to the three dungeons, Fort Amsterdam, Elmina, and Cape Coast. But sometimes I always say to my brothers and sisters that the concept of heaven and earth heaven and hell started at the Cape Coast dungeons. People will never understand if I say that. We were made to believe that there is going to be an heaven gate, that all of us are going to go through that heaven gate and go to the Maker in heaven tomorrow. But when you read Genesis chapter 1 verse 1, the Bible never told us where God is, because they said in the beginning God created heaven and earth. So if in the beginning God created heaven and earth, then it means God is not in heaven and God is not in hell. Now, the first church that was in Ghana was at the Cape Coast dungeons, the Society for the Propagation of the Gospel. In that church, they preach God is good all the time. They preach God is the Maker. God is forgiving God. But right beneath the dungeon, the church, was the male dungeons. So the male dungeons was a place of hell, because our forebears were in that dungeons and crying for the church, being Jesus, to support them. Now, when the slave ship arrived, symbolically, our ancestors were made to walk through an underground tunnel and go through a particular door. That door is called the door of no return. But do you know the name of the first slave ship that landed in Ghana?
It said it's Jesus.
That is it. So connect the dungeon being hell, your ancestors taken through the door of no return being the heaven gate, and Jesus Christ as the slave ship coming for them.
Hey!
To the land unknown, that is heaven. That is all the concepts of heaven and earth. And that door has been a door of deceit for 200 years. And that door needs to go and make way for us to be able to tell our narrative. So that door of no return has to be changed. Because
But
yes,
they said when they were going, they moved that door. Who remember I was making noise about it. They took the door away. We have to get that door back. It means a lot.
They took that door away, but our ancestors also supported us on the ocean. And we're going to come there later. So that concept of heaven and earth and that door, we overlooked that door for so long, and it's had a negative impact on us, because words are very powerful. Because if we could say the door of no return on us, what does it mean?
We can't get back to our origin.
There's nothing that you could do for yourself. You would basically not be existing, because the tag has been put on you.
So tell me how they are branding here. The other side, they will use metals and what to here too.
That is the same thing that they do, depending on the companies that bought you, in terms of the symbol that they want on you. They're going to use it around all your soldiers. And the trade was made up of so many intermediaries. So if they take you through 2 or 3 people, then every part of the body.
And abusia, me pesa wote ase say, enkrofo no omudu omugu nsuo ni mu no. They take the numbers to go and collect insurance. Because unko wu okwan so na embo ne kantia ne obewu wa haya na okwa akodi insurance nti no. This whole thing, how do we explain this whole thing?
So that door of no return has to be changed, and we have to make it the door of return.
That time will come.
But it has.
That
is why we have these 2 remains. Madame Krista from Kingston, Jamaica. Basically, she was connected to the Abanze Commanding Group. And Samuel Carson from New York, US of A. Now, before we open that door of no return, we have to make our ancestors a reverse journey back home. In order for them to cancel all the curses along the journey, in order to lay onto us the best path for us to follow. So we identify 2 enslaved persons who could match the same thing that we want from them. Because the journey from the priest that we have to return to home. So we had Madame Krista from Kingston, Jamaica, who was basically from Abanze Commanding, where you are the Fort Amsterdam. The people of Abanze Commanding are just like Bluetooth. Whenever they see you from Commanding, you just connect. So Madame Krista was one lady that was taken from here in Jamaica. And when she got to Jamaica, she would never wanted to be called a slave, because she's never a slave. And she cannot come down for you to call her a slave. She rather prefer to die than to be seen as a slave. But when she decided to have that energy, she was seen as a threat. So she was taken through the concept, the force feeding concept. With the force feeding concept, what they do to you is this. They open your mouth, they put a chisel on your teeth, and they break all your teeth in, and they take it off. They put a funnel in your mouth, and they squeeze the food through your throat. After which they will leave you to your fate, because the infections and the pains alone will kill you.
Hey!
And Madame Krista suffered this pain for 6 months. And we lost her in 1830.
At where?
Jamaica, Kingston, Jamaica.
So why is the grave here?
The grave was here because we have to change the narrative. And it has to be brought back in order to cancel that door of no return. So today, we don't have the door of no return. We now have the door of return.
They've written it
because
there,
everyone
boldly.
went through that door, but none came back through that door. So the two, Samuel Carson also played that similar role. So the two of them have to be brought back home, a male and a female, because we needed both energies just to come home, for them to clean the way for that door to be open. And on the 31st day of July 1998, that was the greatest homecoming. And that day, the door was open. But let me tell you the journey from Abanze to Cape Coast. When they got to Abanze, the youth of Abanze never wanted them to walk through the land to Cape Coast. They never understood. But look, none of the vehicles were able to spark. Until the priest of Abanze spoke and said to them, hey, the only way you could get there is to give us our ancestors. You have to take them through the Atlantic Ocean. Because there's so much of their power in that ocean that they need to take before they come through that door. So the people of Abanze brought out their beautiful canoes. They were just like process to escort Madame Krista and Samuel Carson on the Atlantic Ocean. And the day that they got on at the door of the dungeons, the sea have never smiled like that. You could see that the energy in the sea was so powerful. And when they came through that door of no return, it was raining. The sun was shining. At the same time, there was thunderstorm. Goosebumps were all over. We knew our ancestors have brought some power home. They should have been brought here the same day, but we can't. We have to let them be at the dungeons for a day. The following day being the 1st of
cancel
August.
the prisons as well.
That is it. The following being the 1st of August, the two of our ancestors were brought back home and they were buried here. Why were they buried here? Because they have to come back and tell those that they left about their journey in order for them to give them a befitting burial. And we buried the two here. And that door of no return, symbolically and spiritually, has been changed to the door of return. Fast forward in 2019, the year of return celebration saw so many of our brothers and sisters back coming home. But you know that the year of return celebration was a prophecy for our brothers and sisters in the diaspora to return home. The first documented slave ship landed in Virginia, Jamestown in 1619. 1619 to 2019. When you do the math, do you know how many years it is? It is 400 years. When you read Genesis chapter 15, verses 13 and 14, that prophecy is right there in the Old Testament. That my emphasis here is in the Old Testament. It is there. And it said that our children are going to go through enslavement on the land that is not theirs for 400 years. After that, those that would enslave would I judge, and my people will come out with all the substance. So for them, for the year of return celebration, it was for us to come back and take what belongs to us. Not only for the diasporans, but for all of us. So how do you get what belongs to you? Because you have to start all over again. And if starting this all over again, the whole world have to follow you and start together with you. Did it happen in 2019? That was when the COVID came. Everything went aground. Because that is the day we have to be conscious to get what belongs to us. But the question is, how did we come out from it? Did we really understood the prophecy?
You are watching the Quest. Hey! Ibi aye boni o. Ibi abre. Enye easy. So
in coming home, the Prime Minister of Barbados, on the 11th of November 2019, said, if I have the chance to come, I have to return with all my ancestors. Because I have made a promise to them that one day I will return them back home. But I never knew how to do it. But this journey, I have to make this journey. So she excavated most slave cemeteries at the slave site in Barbados. All the bones, everything that she had. She brought them together in a beautiful casket, all the way from Barbados. And she got them rested here. And when she buried them in here, this was what she said. She said, you told me to bring you home because you will go to do something better for me. I have brought you home. I'm waiting for what you do for me. And when she brought them home, Barbados was an independent state, but not a republic. But after the burial, 2 years later, they became a republic.
Mamenka Hanahani here. Abuzia, President of Barbados, Mibwa.
Yes, Mia Amamotli.
Oswa slaves in Nompe. I know this free hold the good you gasket would do your mobile say. Mona must have been from Brand. Now, how did he know that they want? Is he a spiritual person?
That woman, I think you have to meet that woman.
Yes,
when
I
you
have
meet
to.
That woman, you understand that the same spirit in you is just
it's
like
in
the
here.
same in her.
Papa, because I don't know who say omonfa omombra no ye bold or do omugu bones. The outcome way Marco UK and saying omo ancestral tomb of England. I went inside. That's where they incriminate. Yeah. That's where they pour the ashes. I went and I found a bone and I brought it back home. It's in my office though. I didn't come and bury it here. But that's the energy. I'm trying to confirm what you said about the woman. Until the bones in na by until no rest they made him her a promise and obey we no they fulfilled their promise. Ya catch us say omo yem embrunsamfo and na omo si toilet esi omo so na wayere wo hu and na we are finished. A day panty na yegina ha na yebebre as Ghanaians. What do we lack? Because of these things, gain your consciousness. I have become a demon, but I am unstoppable. Until we get there, we are still moving on. You are watching the quest. Okay, so
and after the burial of the Barbados group, people from the African descent also said, no, we also have remains of our ancestors. Give us a chance to have them here. Because we believe that this is the best place for them to come. But we cannot say no to them because they are our brothers and sisters. So inside this graveyard was given out to them. And today we have 447 ashes on this land. So in here, every morning that you come, you always have to offer libation and thank your ancestors and those ever that have been in here. The trade was abolished in 1808, but not slavery. Slavery, I don't know the date. I only know what the book says.
But come to think of it, be honest, do you think this slave trade is still going on?
It is still going on. Guys? It's still going on. So that is why I always say, those dates that were given to us is for the students to write and pass their exams. But in reality, it is not it.
The journey continues. So from here...
We go to the river.
Okay.
So we're going to make a journey to the river.
So now, no, me see ufi abrochire ba bra. Na be ye bibi wa ha fama omu. We enya abosom se me nya abayisem. When you go to this Western world, every weekend, omo de brodo, ni flowers, ni toffees. No omo de ko. Una wo de wo se wo de na nye. Nti na wo bre no. Because you wo hwene na kwahwe wo great grandmother hwene na hwese nye ono an oti umu a. If you won't allow them to see, their pain will not cancel your pain. You will go through your pain. That's the thing. So you be call hu omo ebi mu ada wo ma. And I'm saying gain your consciousness. Do you think everybody's bone or ashes will be brought here? So ye hu omo wa ha ye fe ye call another serious place a omo de fe omo atofowuo. Ye do omo share nsuo no mu ma omo wu ye no. E ho no na me de wo eko ye ne ye brother na eko. Keep watching, the journey continues.
So we are walking on the ancestral route. In the ancestral cemetery, this particular path has been identified to have been the place that the enslaved persons normally walked to the river. But we have come to treat this place as a very special place for us. The reason being that it is a sacred ground and we have to treat it as such. I don't need to walk on the remains of my ancestors in any other thing, but I need to feel that energy connection. So we always walk through this path with our shoes off. And I've had so many instances that people would argue why they have to do that. And at the end, they realize the important thing for them to do it. When Moses was going for the Ten Commandments on the Mount of Sinai, the place was so sacred. So God told him, take off your shoes and walk on the land. So if today we have the chance to walk on the remains of those that fought for us, I believe that we also have to treat that land with respect. Because if I don't treat my land right, do you expect a Caucasian to make it better for me? So I treat my land right. The second reason why we walk through this path, it is one we have to say thank you to all our ancestors. Because without our ancestors, we are no more. Sometimes when I ask people, they think so much of Harriet Tubman, Marcus Garvey as their ancestors. I said, just don't go too far. Just search your families and friends. And I'm very sure you've lost some people that were so special to you in your life. You have never had a chance to say thank you to them. Today, whilst you are walking on the path of your ancestors,
Send it to them.
just use the opportunity to say thank you to them. Because if you don't say thank you to them, tomorrow you and I will also be like them. And no one
thank you.
will mention your name. So we try to make it right by thanking our ancestors for them to thank us back. And the third one is when we let the diasporan Africans pray through their ancestors and ask for clarity. Because for them, they are here to know where they are coming from. So if they come here and it's not spiritual, then they don't need to come here. So they walk on the path of their ancestors, directly feel the energy from the ground. And a lot of people have been, we call it akom, because when they come over here and they connect to the land, they feel the powers of our ancestors. And whenever we are going through this, we also sometimes have people who, because of age, cannot walk barefooted because of this underlying conditions. So for them, we still want them to have the feel of the land. So we have the white clay, and we use the white clay as a mark or name in order to connect to the land indirectly and walk. And whilst we're going through this journey, not all forces will love you to go. Some will never want you to go. So we try to take those negative energies away from us and bring to us the positive ones. And that is why we always put the serasi on our neck before we make the journey to the river. Normally we have to pour libation at the entrance before we go. But it is now at evening, and we don't have to pour libation now because the libation have already been poured. And I'm going to put this serasi on my sister, and we're going to make a short walk to the river. Everything that we do, as this is a prophecy on me to you, that may your journey be devoid of obstacle. It should just be parallel in order to achieve your goals. I also put this on you, and the reason why I put this on you is my prayer for you is for you to have the third eye. Because when you do have the third eye, nobody can bring you down. And we're going to make the short walk, and it has to be very solemn. And it's a journey of prayer. We all have ancestors. This is the time for us to say thank you to them. And let's make the journey to them. We are at the slave camp. Okay, so this area is a very big area, but from that end, and that end is very wild. So we don't even allow anyone to get to that place. It is not just only wild in terms of animals, but we have so many things that binds the community, and so many of our spiritualities are somewhere over there, so we don't want to even get into that. But when they got in here at the slave camp, for them, maybe they were to take their last bath, but so many things happened in here. In here was where those that were seen as freedom fighters, for them they were leaders, and everyone was for them. So they had influence on their people. So in here, the leadership traits in Africans were curtailed. It was broken. Why was it broken? When you have been identified to have been very strong in fighting for your rights in here. For those people, they weren't killed. Because killing has become part of whatever they already see. So even if you kill someone, they are used to it. So your killing them will not even disturb them from not doing what they wanted to do. So they took them through a different method of eliminating you. And that is when the forebearers or the freedom fighters went through. They weren't killed. They were buried alive. Yes, and that is all this mass burial that you are seeing. The bamboo cemetery. Yes. And in 2007, there was an excavation at this spot in order to get evidences to back the claim. It came out that people died in here suffocating. And in here is the bamboo cemetery, and it's all the chief in this community that goes there to perform their rituals. So all this...
The alpha males were buried alive.
Were buried alive.
Here?
Yes, because they don't want you to be a leader. And from that, maybe it affects us because we were scared to now voice out.
And then go and bring all the leaders and come and perform rituals for them. It's as simple as ABCD.
Yeah. Yeah. And that is what you say about being conscious. They're not.
I keep preaching this. Sometimes when they start, you can see the energy. When they go 1, 2, 3 and come, it's like, what's up?
Because they are not African.
You look at them and you are like, are these people clone or something?
They are not African. Because when you are an African, African will be born on you and you will behave African.
Tell us. I don't want to say anything.
Those people that suffocated, being the freedom fighters, were the ones that are buried everywhere here. Also, the river we are seeing now are two separate rivers. We have the male energy and we have the female energy with two different sources. From the left, we have this river getting its source from the township. And the name of this river became the slave river, the non-consume.
The what, sir?
Non-consume, the slave river. And this river is getting its source from the Pra River. And the name of this river is Ama Emisa. This river suffered so much blood spill in it. The river that have the sources connected to this also have the same blood flowing in that. This river is always stagnant. It doesn't move. Even when, if you had come 4 days ago, you can't even get closer. All this place got flooded. But this particular portion of the river, it's always gentle. It doesn't smile. It's always sad.
Pain.
The pain in that river. And this river is the male energy in this area. That river also is Ama Emisa. And Ama Emisa also have another story to share when we get to the first part of it. So when they brought the captives in here to wash themselves, they used the stagnant one because in here it was easier to monitor the movements of the captives. But when you are in chains and in shackles, how would you be able to bathe in the river? Would you just do this, do that, and do that? You can't. So they were chained around the waist and they were released in the river. And the bamboo leaves was used to wash them in the river. With the bamboo leaves, after washing, you realize that you have bruises with cuts and
because
itching.
It's very sharp.
Very, very sharp. They use it on them. They spill so much blood in this river. But the blood that they are spilling in that river, people never understood that blood. Because you cannot put their blood in their own river. But the blood was spilled in that river. After that, they dragged them to where we are now. And they make them go through vigorous exercises in addition to the blood. Because when you lose blood and you're able to do that exercise, then that makes you very powerful. So after the exercises, all the blood is cleaned. And you were smeared with palm oil and shea butter just for you to shine. Then after shining, we had 2 important trees in here, but the trees is no more. The first tree was a silk cotton tree. The first one was at where we have the first auction. And the second one is right behind you. Was 2 silk cotton tree. And this tree fell on the same day in here in 1994. For us, we will not understand why two important trees will fall on the same day. So the chief decided that they have to seek for the reason why it has to happen. And they were told that our ancestors are not happy. And they were told what they have to do at the site. And they came and they did everything that they could do. And a prophecy came out. Do you know what the prophecy was?
No.
An African will plant those two trees again. But I never understood the prophecy, because if they said an African, who am I? Am I not an African? So why can't I plant that two trees? But as I grow in that journey, I realized, with a book that I read about Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, who said to us that not because you're born in Africa makes you African. You are only African if African is born in you. Today, I will tell you I'm 80% African. I'm never 100% African. So I'm waiting to the day that an African will plant these two trees.
May that day come to pass.
Yes. And these two trees have long spines on it. And that is where the auction starts. They chain two individuals around it at a time. So when they chain you around it, they leave a gap so that you don't get pricked. The other one behind you also have to go through the same thing. So when you try to escape, you're going to put the other one to it. And it's good, the thorns will prick and you see blood gushing out. So because you don't want your brother to suffer,
you have to be quiet.
You have to be quiet and go through your auction. Our brothers and sisters were bought with things that are not important. Things like used clothes, tobacco, gun, gunpowder. Even at the point in time, animals were more valuable as an asset to our brothers and sisters who did no wrong. They were on their land, minding their own business. They were on their land, growing their own vegetation, their own plants, their own food. They were building mansions and pyramids in their own land. They never offended anyone. But this crime was perpetrated on them. After buying them in here, how can someone own someone? How can somebody become your owner? But in here, you were treated like a dog to have an owner, to call you by his name. And that is when they put the metal in fire for it to be very, 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 very hot. Stab it at your chest, at your shoulder, or at your back for a source of identification. Those that were able to continue, they left. Those that couldn't, they stayed. With everything that I'm telling you today, sis, it doesn't come closer to what our ancestors endured. If this land could speak, if this river, the two rivers, could speak to you, or even if these trees could speak to you, I'm not sure you even have the ears to listen. You say, please, stop saying it because I can't hear. But today, we are always here because of them. That is why their name will never depart on our lips.
Yeah. Continue.
So we're going to go. So now, the last bath in here was where the captives took their last bath. So if somebody tells you the last bath, what does that mean? It means it's the same as the door of no return. It means you're never going to come here again. You will never even have the chance to connect with the rivers of your ancestors. And in the Negro spirituals, they always tell about rivers. So they knew their strength of power is a river. And this was what the Caucasian taught on us, that everything about us would come to an end. In here, they dug the hole, and they put it in us, and they covered us. They didn't know we were seed, we would germinate. And we have germinated to become the trees that we are today. So we cannot come to the rivers of our ancestors and treat this river as our last bath. Never. Because if I say my last bath, it means I'm never going to come here again.
It means you will not even germinate because it's the river that will make you germinate, the water.
That is it.
So you are killing us, killing the seed and everything.
Everything.
First and foremost,
words.
you took our future because you didn't take the old men.
You took the younger ones.
But let me ask this. I know these rivers have powerful energies. They couldn't help us. Eh?
Yes, that is some questions that always people ask about it. Maybe the rivers couldn't help us for us to know, but maybe spiritually they did. The reason why I say spiritually they did is that this river have called so many people home, and they have told them what they have to do. So this river is our point of connecting and seeking for clarity. So when we come over, we don't use this path because it's a sacred place. Let's allow our ancestors some peace. But we come through this journey in the first battle of return. And the first battle of return is where we get to that river. And this river cures so many things.
Okay.
And that river is so powerful for us.
Okay.
So we're going to go to that river, and I'm going to tell you some rituals that I do. Just do a few of it, because we don't have much time to do all.
Okay.
And after that, I love it when you put timelines to it. Let's get to the river. So we are at Ama Emisa. As I said previously, we always allow the slave river to have some quiet of respite. Today we are coming as a new people, and we are coming through the door, the first bath of return. Now when we come here, do you know what we do? My ancestors were calling it cleansing, and religion call it baptism. But for me, I don't call it baptism, I call it cleansing. So whenever my sisters and brothers come over, the first ritual that we do in this river, it's what we call the cleansing. With the cleansing, you don't need to just get in there and get yourself soaked. No. We do the cleansing like this. When you stand in the river, you're going to screen your own self and ask yourself, which of the traits in me that I want to let go? And while you stand in the river, you just meditate with that energy and just allow it to go. Because you are here having a covenant with your ancestor that today I'm ready to let go of that behavior. Because I want you to go out here to be the best version of yourself. Now with the kind of job that you're doing and the attacks that will be coming on you, we always tell you that what you have to do is first, after cleansing, you put your hand in the river and you bless it. That whatever your hand touches should be very, very successful. You fetch the water again on your eye and you pray for the third eye. For the spirit of discernment in your ears, that whenever the voice speaketh, we should be able to identify between the good ones, and we should have the power and energy to do it. Now you all agree with me that you could see, you could hear, but the most difficult one is what you speak. You could have all the facts, but if you cannot apply wisdom to what you say, people would always say you never said it right. So you touch the water on your lips and you pray with the power and strength in you that may your mouth be open. Maame Grace, may your mouth be open. That wherever you stand to speak, people everywhere would understand your message. And people everywhere will listen to your message. And every word that you say is going to be a word of testimonies. After which when you're done, you tell your ancestors, I am here for you. I am here because I am your child. I needed this from you, so can you open with it? If you have a coin, you put all your wishes on it and just throw your coin in the river. And just go to your hotel room and just wait. Those prophecies or those testimonies would come to pass. And today, you are my guest at the Slave River, and I'll give you the chance to go through the journey of the cleansing, the eyes, the ears, and the mouth to speak, because we need that energy and power. And when you're done with all your goals, I know it's so huge, I know, but it's never huge for your ancestors. And when you say everything, just like the Prime Minister of Barbados came to promise and she delivered, our ancestors also delivered on their promise. So today, the river of your ancestors is calling you. They know the job you are doing. So I'm very positive that they are already waiting for you here. And it wasn't
becoming
closer to you. And it's not a coincidence that you are here by this time. Because this time is where they start packing their clothes because it's going to get night. And they're going to come around and just have their quiet time. So I'll leave you to the river and have your quiet time. And when you're done, just give me a click and I'll come closer. Okay. We basically have come to the end of the tour, but just like I know what you do, I'm just telling you that you might think people are not listening. You might think people are not understanding what you are saying. Sometimes it's very difficult to kill what we've already learned, and people are now on learning first. So majority of them are on the unlearning stage, and they need to learn. So keep on doing whatever you're doing. And may our ancestors always get your back, and may God always bless you. So today we always say to you that the ancestors, God, and the river is telling you this, that today, Maame Grace, look, they said, we are back home. So, welcome home, sis.
Thank you.
Welcome home.
Okay, so I know a lot of people, will want to do this. So kindly leave a number. If there are social media, how to get through to you for this?
So you could get to me on 0546 842 853. You could also check us out on Asen Manso Slave River site on Facebook, and also Asen Manso Slaves River site, which is my personal Facebook account.
Say that one again.
Asen Manso Slaves River site. Okay. And that one is my personal Facebook page.
Okay. That's his personal Facebook page. Medinibaba Revelations. So we would have a conversation with him. So anytime you come to Accra, please, we are automatically, and I say, inviting you in advance. Come on Revelations. We want to know you yourself. Today we came to do Yeah. So come and let's have conversation with you. I know people would want to know who you are, what you do, and what have you. Numbo Chawe, this is your brother. My love to you. You know how powerful these young ones are making this whole thing. The consciousness thing is really spreading. The awakening is really working because they've all decided to join and make sure we wake ourselves. Nobody hates anybody, but we are all trying to make sure that we come back to our lineage so we will have our freedom on our own land. Thank you so much for watching the Quest of Akebulan. This is your ancestral water. This is where the slaves got their last bath, and now we are making it our first bath home. So you can come and visit here. Please find this video and add it. I went to UK recently. We went to the Tomb of England. They go there with their children to walk in the ancestral path. It is there. I went there with some white. So why do we say our own is bad? But it's okay. What you don't know, you don't know. But I want you to understand that try to Google, try to read. Now we have advantage of the internet. If you don't even get the full stories, then you get a click or a hint, then you move towards it to make sure you have your consciousness so you are able to know yourself. Thank you so much, brother. We appreciate you. He will be on Revelation soon. And thank you so much for watching the Quest of Akebulan. Same time next week. Shalom. Peace.